Alright, so you've gone and bought yourself an iPhone 16e. Didn't watch my review, did you? And now you want to know all about the best new features and secret hidden bits to get the most from your allegedly affordable brick. What's all this AI guff that Apple keeps banging on about? And is Siri actually finally more use than a condom machine in the Pope's bathroom? Well, here's my iPhone 16e tips and tricks guide, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So let's kick off with the action button, which Apple has kindly slapped on all of its 16 series smartphones. You'll find it housed right here just above the volume buttons, and it's actually pretty decent. By default, a long press of this will toggle the silent mode on or off. It's pretty handy if you're going into a meeting or the cinema, although apparently these days it's mandatory to just watch TikToks on your phone the entire way through a movie, so I wouldn't worry about sticking your blower on silent. And the great thing about that action button, it's fully customizable. Just dive into the action button section of the settings and you've got lots of different options, including switch and focus modes, quick load on the camera, yada yada yada. My favorite, definitely turning it into a Shazam button so you can quickly work out what that song is that's blasting out over the store tannoy or whatever. And you've also got full shortcuts compatibility, so you can push down the action button to open absolutely any app you fancy or run one of your other shortcuts. If you haven't used shortcuts before, it's well worth diving into because it can make life a lot easier. There's a whole bunch of shortcuts already pre-made on here that you can mess around with, including the ability to jump straight into portrait selfie mode. And people ask me why I'm not on Instagram. There's shortcuts for quickly setting a timer, all kinds of stuff in here, and of course the best part is you can create your own. Just tap the tiny plus in the top right hand corner, it's not the most intuitive, and then just choose an app you want to create a shortcut for. Let's do, for instance, voice memos. Loads of different options in here. Let's start creating a recording. Just give the recording a title. And then back in settings, you can change the shortcut by tapping there to our new create recording effort. And now, if we long press the action button, we'll start recording some sort of brilliant brainwavy idea. And on the subject of shortcuts, definitely check out the automation section. This is a full if this, then that setup. If you haven't used one of these before, all you need to do is set a condition. So for instance, let's say you absolutely do not want to be disturbed after 8 p.m. every day, because that's now your chill out time. We'll have this automation kick off every single day and we'll just have it run immediately. We don't need confirmation. Then in do, tap no actions. We want to go to controls, set focus, and turn do not disturb on until turned off again. And there you have just a very simple automation. Of course, you've got tons and tons of different if variables, so you can really play around with this thing. So absolutely well worth playing around with. One of the best iOS features that not many people actually bother with. Like your mum always says, don't be afraid to experiment. Now, are you one of these people who yanks your phone out a few times a day just to check your messages, and then 1 hour later you come to realizing that you've just spent that entire time doom scrolling? You've completely forgot to go pick the kids up from school. All those bold, colorful logos are just too enticing, but there is a solution. Just long press on any spare area of desktop and go to Edit, and then go to Customize. And down at the bottom here, you will spy a tinted option. If you give that a tap, you can change all of these icons to the exact same color of your choosing. You can also change the saturation level. And I've honestly found this method does genuinely help. I usually only tap the apps that I need to use at a given moment rather than being enticed by something else. So you want to quit the old doom scrolling, give it a go. And another quick tip, the iPhone 16e might not be quite as stupidly huge as the Pro Max, for instance, but one-handed use is still not exactly easy. But thankfully, Apple's usual one-handed mode is here to help. Just quickly swipe down on that bottom bar there, and the entire screen will conveniently drop down so you can access all the bits at the top. And if you need to, you can find this feature in Settings, Accessibility, scroll down to Touch, and you'll find it in there, Reachability it's called. Not one-handed mode, which would be the more intuitive thing to search for, but hey-ho. Now, did you know that on the iPhone 16e, you can lock down any of these apps so only you can access it with a bit of Face ID? It's pretty handy if other people are in the habit of borrowing your smartphone and, for instance, you've got any dodgy stuff lurking there in the photos gallery that you'd rather they didn't see. Not that that would apply to you, of course. All your homemade smut goes straight up on OnlyFans, right? And this is remarkably easy to set up. All you got to do is long press on your chosen app, and you will see a require Face ID option pop right up. And all you got to do is scan your mug and you're done. And don't forget as well, on the iPhone 16e, you can completely customize that control center. Just give this wee plus icon at the top corner a tap. You can get rid of any stuff that you don't want. You can rearrange the controls on here, and then you can add new controls. So for instance, I print a lot of stuff direct from my phone, so I'll give print center a tap, it just pops up there, and then of course again you can rearrange it if you want to. Now, one of the best features in the Safari web browser is absolutely the reader. If, like me, you're annoyed by constant ad pop-ups and all of this guff that really ruins the whole web browsing experience these days, well, no worries, Safari has you covered. All you got to do to get rid of all this bollocks is tap this wee icon to the left of the address bar, and you'll see there's an option there for short reader. Give that a poke, and suddenly, oh my god, you can actually just read a web page like you used to be able to back in the day. If you can't actually be bothered to read it, you can actually have the web page read out to you like a podcast. And you will notice when you tap through to some web pages, you get this wee summarize option up top. If you give that a tap, this can provide you with a brief overview of the article in case you can't be bothered to actually read all these carefully crafted words that the journalist has spaffed out all over the page. And this right here, my friends, is a tasty slice of Apple intelligence. Apple's belated stab at doing the whole phone AI thing. And the good news, depending on your point of view, is that the iPhone 16e comes absolutely loaded with Apple intelligence. Now, if this is your first experience of it, maybe temper your expectations a wee bit. We're not exactly talking Stephen Hawking here. Think more along the lines of Stephen Gerrard. So for instance, you've got the obligatory write-in tools. So once you've tapped out a message, just tap this icon and the iPhone can recompose your message to make you sound either a bit more posh or a bit less angry. And the iPhone 16e can also proofread your messages before you hit send if you're serious about achieving grammatical perfection in that text to your mum. And I'm yet to find an actual genuine use for it, but the iPhone 16e also includes Apple's fresh new image playground, which can sort of draw stuff that you ask for as long as it's nothing even vaguely complicated, like a cartoon badger wearing Y-fronts, for instance. Had absolutely great fun trying to get Apple Intelligence to come up with a cover photo for this. When I actually typed in tips and tricks, for some reason it mostly came up with small furry creatures. Not really sure what that's all about. Did eventually get it to do some signs for me, but they were, I don't know what even is that Russian? And the Genmojis tool is exactly the same, except this time we can conjure up a fresh emoji for you to insert into your messages. Nice and easy to instigate. All you need to do is tap this wee smiley face with a little plus icon over here. Let's try mum eating a Mars bar. And again, not always successful. So we've got somebody eating what appears to be a lump of rock with a bit of the moon behind them. Let's just try mum eating sweets instead. No idea what that's supposed to be, but yeah, that'll work. However, it did do a very good job of a cucumber and a couple of eggs for now. And then there's one of my absolute favorites, Apple's visual intelligence, which you can assign to the old action button. So now when we hold down that button, it will activate the camera. And as you can see there, we can now find out a bit more information about whatever we're pointing the iPhone 16e at. In this case, a snake plant. Unfortunately, this does tend to only automatically work if it's pointed at something quite simple like a plant or an obvious animal. Otherwise, you can at least perform a Google image search by tapping in that bottom corner there. This will bring up all the information you need about whatever it is you're looking at. And you can even, if you have it installed on your iPhone 16e, ask a bit of ChatGPT about whatever it is. So a bit of a mixed bag. The old Apple Intelligence, in fact, not even a mixed bag. It's like if you had a bag of those Revels sweets and 90% of them were the god-awful coffee ones. But a couple of decent bits in there, like the website summarization in Safari and a bit of photo editing, which can be pretty alright, which we'll touch on when we hit the camera tips. Now, one of the best features of the iPhone 16e is the brilliant battery life, but that doesn't mean you won't occasionally find yourself running low on power. Now, first up, it's always a good idea to actually know how much battery percentage you have remaining at any given moment. So tap on battery in the settings and then poke battery percentage and that'll pop right up. Now, here's a quick tip for turning on that power saver mode automatically. In the Shortcuts app, go to Automation, tap on the plus button and create your own personal automation. For the if condition, have the battery level fallen below a set percentage, whatever you're comfortable with. I've set it for 20%. And then once it falls below that percentage, have it set the low power mode. There you have it, just a quick simple automation that will automatically turn on that low power mode when we hit 20%. And of course you can adjust that at any given moment. Make it a little bit higher, a little bit lower, whatever you fancy. And you can have it either run immediately or run after confirmation, whichever you prefer. And just remember though, don't go spunking out even more cash on a MagSafe battery pack to slap on the back of this thing, because the iPhone 16e does not support MagSafe, which is something that Apple really needs to make more obvious. And now let's have a wee squint at the iPhone 16e's lock screen. And this can be fully customized to actually make it proper useful. And what you want to do is unlock your phone, but don't swipe away the lock screen, instead just long press on it. As you can see there, you can customize your current lock screen, otherwise you can tap the plus icon to create a whole new one. You've got a bunch of different themes and everything that you can choose from here in the iOS selection, otherwise you can also just use one of your photos. So, ooh, I can make it a picture of me apparently, that sounds great. Ah yes, the creepy one that I just took earlier, that's perfect. Once you've selected your wallpaper, always geeky animation shenanigans for myself, then tap Customize and go into the lock screen. And you can bugger about with basically everything you can see. So for instance, tap the clock and you can change the font, the color, etc. You can also tweak the widgets that you've got slapped on here, getting rid of any that you don't particularly use and then slapping on a new one from any of your installed apps. And if you swipe down here, you can apply a filter to your lock screen, which is pretty cool. And lastly, you can also change the two widgets down in the bottom left and bottom right corner as well. So you can bring up any app that you like. Again, let's get a bit of Shazam on the go. Et voila, looking good. However, in a step back towards the dark ages, you will spy there is bugger all support for an always on display here on the iPhone 16e. So you're gonna have to keep on turning on the smartphone to actually check for any notifications. Now, another feature that not many iPhone users seem to even know exists is the ability to download maps for offline use. It's pretty handy if you're buggering off into the sticks for the weekend with absolutely sod all mobile connectivity. So say that I'm planning a trip out into the wilderness. I'm going to take a trip to Milton Keynes. Don't ask me why. Once you've found your location, just swipe up from the bottom here and then tap download. You'll be able to choose the exact area you want to download a map for, and then just tap download again, and thy will be done. You can check on these offline maps at any point by tapping your profile pic down in the bottom right corner and going to offline maps. Boom, there you go. And if you happen to be a fan of walking in the outdoors, well, give library a tap and you can create your very own route through the countryside or whatever. So for instance, we could go visit Ouzel Valley Park and a bit of Willen Lake. As you can see, it's already started crafting our hike for us. Give us an idea of how far we're walking, the elevation levels, etc, etc. Maybe we can also visit the B&Q and end our day at All Bar One, where we can get a nice refreshing pint of Foster's for 12 quid. And let's end this iPhone 16e tips and tricks guide with a squint at the camera. Once again, a 48 megapixel shooter which snaps 24 meg pictures by default. As always, once you've snapped a picture, jump on into the gallery, tap the eye down here, and as you can see there, you've got this glowing icon going off around your subject. Just long press on them and you can create a sticker which then gets added to your collection. You can then use that in messages, etc. And when you're using the camera app, you can quickly drag up the quick toggles with a swipe up the screen like so. You have fast access to essentials like the old flash. You can also toggle the night mode on or off. You can play around with the exposure levels and play around with some different vibes as well. So it's in standard by default, but you can have a rich contrast mode. You can play around with those color tones, make them super warm or a bit cooler. But of course, the big new addition for the iPhone 16e is that Apple Intelligence photo editing. What you'll want to do is go to clean up. As you can see right here, it's suggested maybe getting rid of any stragglers in the background, just leaving your subject by themselves. So let's do exactly that. Unfortunately, it can't exactly work wonders. It is rather limited when it comes to crowds, unfortunately. Not quite as advanced as some of those Android efforts like the Poco F7 Ultra, for instance, which could happily wipe out all of these people and leave the streets apocalyptically clear. It was great stuff. Again, here on the iPhone, just limit your expectations. It's fine for 1 or 2 people hanging around the background, but in densely populated areas, you're gonna struggle. And there you have it, my lovelies. That, in a tasty wee nutshell, is my tips and tricks guide for getting the most out of the iPhone 16e, some of the best hidden features you might not have known about. Now, did I miss off your own personal feature? Have you got any other top tips you would like to share with the class? Well, definitely let us know down in the comments below. Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. And have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers, everyone. Love you.